How about that? That better?
I think that is. Hey, Randy, how are you? Hey, Randy, I have something to try here.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, Smoothy. You might remember from last show, Smoothy Qbreeze came in. I like to refer to him as the Loquacious Smoothy Qbreeze, and we got a little dingy dong action there, just because. Which reminds people, hey, hit the subscribe button, and when you do, it'll give them access to the bell icon, and when they do, you'll get a bell sound that sounds something like that. However, Smoothy Qbreeze, he came by and he had gave us some intros, so I wanted to see if maybe we could actually try to use his intro. So let me see. I'm sure I will not make this work right, but we're gonna try it anyway.
Baby,
Hey.
you know what time it is?
No, what time is it?
It's Studio Johnny Q time.
What does that mean?
That means it is time to drop your nerd drawers, baby.
I'm kind of confused.
I don't know exactly what that means, but I'm sure it's sexy.
Okay, sexy's good. So thank you, Smoothy Qbreeze, for that little moment of reminding us that. Oh yes,
it's Studio Johnny Q.
Yes, it is. Thank you for that.
Nice.
You know what time
I
it
like
is,
it with
right?
you talking back to it. That's fun.
I had a lot of opportunities this morning because of all the audio tests. I got so tired just listening to him, I started talking back. So thank you, Smoothy, for that. We do appreciate that. And welcome, everybody, to Edition Thru Distraction, your twice a week vodcast where we work on nerdcraft things and talk about stuff that interests us. Randy, sometimes I'm trying to describe it as sitting at the nerd lunch table. My friend Randy, my longtime friend, who's sitting at the master control. Randy, why don't you say a little something over there, Randy?
Hola, peeps.
And he's gracious enough to be here and spend time with us. Randy, how are you doing today, my friend?
Pretty spiffy.
Yeah?
How's yourself?
I'm doing okay. Got through in a couple wrenches with some of the testing and some of the stuff. But, we're identify, adapt, and overcome. And, yeah. So yeah, I'm excited about today's show, though. I'm definitely excited. And
Sweet.
Today, Randy, before we get started, just remind everybody all the stuff that's down there in the description. I did this time remember to actually put a couple highlighted items down there. So, Randy, one of them was, you might remember, I actually threw it away, but I shouldn't have. I melded my heat gun. And so I got a new heat gun. Let me see the ceiling.
Fancy.
Yeah.
How many speeds does that bad boy get?
It's got a control here.
Oh, variable.
And I think, and then it's got 2 speeds, and it's also got these attachments that come off.
Separate. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Cool.
So it's got like some different attachments. Like one of these is like, I'm not even sure what I would use this for. Am I making like pastry or? Let me see.
Which one is it? The flattened one? Yeah.
Let me. I got the corner cam is a little wonky as I was freeing up some space. Randy, on the display monitor, can you touch the 2 left screens so that the show notes get touched?
Yeah.
Thank you.
There you go.
And then if we switch here, there we go. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Heating a seam.
Yeah. I was just thinking, maybe use this for personal heating, so maybe it's a personal seam. And like this, because I want the air to come out, but I want it to be slightly nudged in a downward direction.
That's a scraper, I believe.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Scraper. It's a paint scraper.
Yeah.
So you're using it like...
yeah, maybe.
Something like that. Okay. I got you. That works. Yeah.
Not sure which way.
And then this is another.
If you can use it both ways or one way preferably. Excuse me.
But so, and I'm finding that I was wanting to use it more and more for helping paint dry. So
instead of just watching it.
Because they're right. That is not really all that interesting. However, watching nerds paint, God, that's interesting. There's a few things more interesting than that, Randy. Thanks for asking. So that was one of the items, and there is a link to that, and also I had to upgrade my glue gun.
Oh, yeah.
And I had been using this one.
Did it give out, or you
No,
just...
there's reasons, right? So this is the gun I have been using, right?
Mhm.
And DM Scotty was a big fan of this one several years ago, and I started using it. Use these mini glue sticks. Has a nice nozzle that you can really,
Nice nos.
yeah, you can get some nozzle action. Little nozzle, little hot nozzle action.
That is actually nice because it's got the long, skinny one, so it's more precision based.
Yeah.
A bit.
Yeah, and then
you
also
can-
because a lot of them they'll protect it, right? So I could actually
Yeah.
use like this part of it, you know.
Yeah, it allows you to smooth stuff out, or
Yeah, so you
use
have-
it as
you have a lot of-
texturing tool or something.
Yeah, so you have a lot of options with that. So that's what's nice about this is, you know, it's just small. What I don't like about this is, you know, no auto shut off. So I actually had bought a timer. This one here is just a simple timer that when you hit this button, it provides power and it'll go for 30 minutes and automatically shut itself off.
Huh.
So I kept that on my desk here, and whenever I wanted to power it on, so it was just an extra measure of control because I know me, and I'll leave that thing on, and nobody needs those types of fears. And so then Scotty started talking about these other these Surebonder brands, and so I had got one of those because they had auto shut off, and that was this one here. So I got this one, and I didn't get the one that he was talking about because I wanted to continue to use the mini glue sticks because I had a huge box of them.
Mhm.
And so I got this one. Well, this one isn't dual temp, but this does have, look at the nozzle on that one.
Oh wow,
Yes, little guy.
nice precision tip, but you
Yeah,
won't-
yeah,
don't get
exactly.
you lose the ability to, use it as a texturing tool as much. Or
Yeah, I mean, you
smooth
can
stuff
still
out.
like downward and stun, but yeah. So I had that one. I was like, okay, but it's still not. It does auto shut off, but it's a single temp. So this one here is a dual temperature gun. It uses full sticks, but it's got auto shut off. And what I need this for is so that I want us to try to use this on our dragon eggs. I need a lower temperature glue gun so that we don't melt the foam when we're applying it. So I'm hoping that this is going to allow us. Now, what I really wanted is they've got, if you don't need dual temp, you can go, they have wireless now. It's where they're chargeable. They go they sit into a charging base, and I think you can use them for like 30 minutes or 15 minutes or something in between.
So on one of the morning kind of today crafty home and away or whatever shows are, they were using a big DeWalt cordless like 24 volt or watt or whatever.
Yeah.
The huge. So it was so big, it seemed ridiculous. It's
Yeah,
just
it's like
a glue gun.
It was like a drill, right? It's like a wireless drill.
Totally. Because it had to accommodate the battery and everything.
Yeah, they do have some of those, which, I mean, I can see where there's some places where it would be worth it, right? Because the cord is just so, but.
That's some serious crafting you got going on.
Now, and the other thing that's nice about these, because I was looking at these and it's like, well, and Surebonder is kind of like, I think BMC is Black Magic Craft. He's endorsing kind of Surebonder right now as well. And as far as that's, I think what he likes to use. And I know DM Scotty was as well. So I was looking at these, but I was also looking at some other ones, and it's like there's some of them was like, I don't want to be lifting weights when I'm doing this. This one's even bigger really than I want, but so I had for dual temp though I did have to go wired, so that's why I went with this. But they do have Surebonder has a lot of interesting ones. I noticed that when I was looking at them, this one says high temp on the side, whereas this says dual temp, so that's one way to know. One of the differences is if it's wireless or not. One of the differences if it's mini or not. I think pretty much all of theirs, I think, have the 30-minute shut off though. So that's pretty awesome just for that. But anyways.
So they have that built in as a feature.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So right here on this one, sorry, you can see 30-minute shut off. And this one has a 30-minute shut off as well. That's one of the things I did like about that. So I just never had kind of gone officially replacing my other one with this one. But I think I'm going to keep both of these, just for... Oh, and what's nice though, this has a replaceable nozzle, so you can get different nozzles for these.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And I don't know if
They
this
have
one...
different shape nozzles or just replacement nozzles?
different shape nozzles.
Cool.
Yeah, so
you can
so if I had, I probably could get one like that could do the, the fine
do
texture
some-
or that texturing the way that I use that other one. So
double-fisted hot gluing there.
yeah,
Some
I mean,
hot double-fisted.
yeah,
Really
I don't
action.
have it in the recommended gear, but yeah, you could probably get like a French tickler for it or something. I think is fine. Is that the direction that we're going?
We are now.
Well, well.
What's up, JC?
Hey, JC, how you doing, brother?
So what's up, nerds?
It's right.
What's up, dork?
Ju-ju-ju-ju.
So wait, if nerds is accepted, is dork accepted too, or is dork still derogatory?
It depends. I think it's
Depends
all,
on how you fly your freak flag.
Yeah, it's all contextual. Yeah, because the same thing. It's like I think is there a difference between nerd and geek? I think in certain parts of the country that geek is more probably prevalent than nerd. But the movie wasn't called Revenge of the Geeks. So, all right. So yeah, Randy, we got our glue gun stuff with that today. Some other stuff that I want to talk about, Randy, and this would be ensuring that we have a titular moment. That's a titular. I have been looking forever. Let me see if I can put this on the M50 here. Or I'm having a really hard time getting this thing to play nicely with me. All right, here we go.
Because you haven't titillated it yet.
Yes.
That's why.
It's got all excited because we're having a titular moment. As in referring to the title, Randy, which was Beholder. I've been looking for years. I love that I focus the zoom and then I know exactly that I'm going to move it up in here and I don't have the focus right. There we go. All right. These WizKid pre-primed, ready to paint Beholders. And these came out in 2017, it says here on the back. And so I've been looking to pick some of these up since then. And I just finally found them. I would, like, when I'd go to the local nerd shop, I would specifically look and it always had that little tag. It was like, sorry, we don't have any of these in stock. Check back again later. So I just had to go in there. And I was like, all right, let me see. Look for that tag. And lo and behold, they had some.
Nice.
And so I bought
So you
three
got
of
these at
them.
the nerd shop?
But yeah, and I did get these at the local nerd shop. Yep. So, yep, these are going to get painted up. They may actually get painted today. I'm not certain. And then I also, Randy, had picked up some of these. I didn't put these. Some of those collar shift paints.
Oh, cool. Those are shifty looking.
Ooh, look at that. So have that. Oh. You're mesmerized. I can tell. You can't really see a lot of the collar shift there, but
what?
anyways.
What?
So
Oh,
yes. Your eyes, they're so sparkly. So I thought maybe we might use some of those for these in particular. So we have that on the agenda. And then also, Randy, I'm going to switch to the ceiling mode. Did a lot of work over the weekend with the castle pieces.
Sweet.
So I'm going to bring some of them over. It shows you. All righty. Now, if you recall, the pieces that we were starting off look something like this. Let me switch that to the. There we go. Right, Randy. This is kind of what had a bunch of this packing foam, and we took it.
What can you do with a piece of crap like that?
Yes. You turn it into better crap.
That's useless. That's just trash. Throw that away.
Now, on this side, you can see it's just the way it normally is. But I put a heat gun on this side.
Oh, wait, it's transforming.
And it starts to transform. So the crap gets a little bit better. And then on some of them, I had also put a texture of like some craft foam and textured them that way. And then we base coated them with Mod Podge. Mew Pew, Mew Q, Q Pew. It's got a bunch of names.
Got the cube.
Q Pew, I think is what we called it at some point. And so this is kind of like one of the pieces that we're at right now, where we put it with Mod Podge. We remember we did that on this stuff. We did the blue and the brown, really stark patterns, and it was like it looked
really interesting. Where it's I can't think of the right word for that. Like streaming down, like it's got the little rivulets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and right now, yeah, I'll come back to that. So
you just waggle your finger at me?
No, was not trying to. If I did, it was incidental, unintentional. But with this, so we had those really stark patterns that we had done, and then we had put another coat. I think we dry brushed some grays all over it, and then we hit it with some wash. But we didn't hit the bricks. And we were trying to make sure that when we painted some of these things that we were painting the base coats as contrasting colors. So like these were all like green. A green black was what I'd used for pretty much all of the XPS foam bricks that we had added to the pieces. And remember that we had textured those in the box with the gravel. And then we hit everything with an ink wash that we had made using Liquitex matte medium and some inks. Some inks, and also some acrylic floor polish. And I put that into a spray bottle. And so when I applied the wash with this, Randy, I used it all in the spray bottle. And I think that helped facilitate what you were talking about with some of those rivulets that were flowing down.
Nice.
And then we'd hit it with a dry brush again. And then I heavily dry brushed all of our brick stuff, and then had given it another wash, or its first wash. And some of that wash got over here, and so you can kind of see that. So some of that I might hit with some dry brushing, but I agree with you. I do like a lot of how it has happened, and I may even look to add some more. But these need to get hit with I think a final dry brush, but man, they are really transformed since the last time we looked at them.
Looking good.
And let me pull out some of the other pieces, some more pieces that we have here. I might be able to add a little bit more light. I moved this other lamp over here, Randy, to give us some more options. There we go. There you go, Randy. Take a look at that.
Sweet.
Those pieces.
We got some nice variations going on.
And we've got, I had two of these things, which are nice because you can just throw them on. You know, you got your little, these can go on top of pieces. Like, because I was trying to really stay modular with this, right? So like that just kind of like
it's cool.
Fits right on there, or can fit on these corners. So,
what was that sound? Is that your phone? Or?
I think it was my phone. My phone on mute, I don't think. Yeah. Let me swap that, Randy. There you go. Thank you. Yep. So we got those. So there's two of those. And these are ones where Carrie's like, do you want me to save styrofoam? It's like, throw away all styrofoam unless it's really, really interesting. And she's like, I don't think you want me to throw this piece away. I'm like, yeah. She's like, it's already kind of like, yeah.
Plus, like, turn it upside down.
Yeah.
Just sit it there by itself upside down. Yeah. That's,
you could use it for all kinds of stuff,
looks kind of industrial there in a way, but...
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, so where's the other one?
Stick some electrodes out the tops of those things, or like posts with chains on them, like somebody's chained up to them. Yeah,
with this, the way that you have this, I mean, it could be used like this, right? Mm-hmm. And it can be used like this too. I cut these in specific.
Oh, that's
way.
Cool. If you
so like you could have like a bazaar, or
oh yeah, could be entrances, archways to a building, or I was thinking like a dual arched bridge, Like if you put the bigger pieces of blocks around the arches and had like water going
Oh
through
yeah.
them. Hello.
Yep.
M50 time.
You know what time it is. M50 time. Yeah, so again, a lot of work on this, but really tried to be smart about how we cut these pieces up and get the most modularity out of them. And here's some areas where it, like, when you have that ink wash, it wants to settle on the bottom. So I kept trying to pull it up and mat it down. And I was doing this outside yesterday when it was freezing, so my hands were getting so cold. But it collected a little heavy, and I knew that I could fix some of that with some dry brushing. So it'll still keep some of this, but it won't be quite as sloppy. But like here, like I kind of just like it almost as is. Where you got those rivulets that are kind of running down. But again, I might hit it with just a little bit of light of a dry brush to add a little texture to it. But yeah, so those are there, and then we had some of the other pieces were. So yeah, I've got some small ones that are like this. That we got for wall sections, and we had these two pieces, which were just oddball pieces, but I thought could be stacked on some of the other ones. Let me move this here, that there, that there. Sit back down if I can. Oh, all right. All right. Move that there. All right. Randy, so if you look at this one here, it kind of like had these like built-in trenches, right? And walkways.
Yeah.
So I thought, like, this makes a good thing like this, because you can have, guys in here.
Nice.
Let's see the ceiling. Or you have them up top, or so I thought that was a pretty neat piece. And then this one was similar but different. I really like this one because I like the these ledges on it here. You know what I mean? And so, and this can go like this or like this. But it looks a little bit more. There you go. You see there, Randall's?
Nice.
Or you could even do it upside down, like that. But have your little guy, little archer up here, right? Glock, you know what I'm saying?
That gives you a lot of options.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It's like, yeah, this is going to get used again.
Even if you
and
just
again.
use that as the display piece to display your figurines and your miniatures.
Yeah, well, this is
Like,
this is going to be
nice for that.
the town of Quaz, I believe, and then we had all those Lord of the Rings figures that I got. So I was thinking that that we'll try to rebase those and almost have kind of like our Battle of Helm's Deep, but it'll be it'll be quasi deep, the Battle of Quasi Deep, or something like that. So yeah, so we got these two pieces, and then these
JC said he thinks it's pretty cool. Came out looking great.
Thanks.
And asked if that's a piece of blackboard on your desk.
Of this?
I think the slate.
No, this is actually real slate.
Yeah.
It's legit. I made this. I made this out of foam board, and no, actually I didn't. God made it. I had some slate that a friend gave me, and
it's the first example of a blackboard.
yes,
Just
it
straight
was
slate.
the original, the OG chalkboard. All right, and then I have two pieces that are even bigger, Randy. I know you always say size matters. I say it's not the size of the wand, it's the magic of the magician, but who am I? Who am I, Randy? All right, so we've got that. Then we've got these two big pieces. We'll start with the smaller. Yeah, here, Randy, these two pieces here. So you can even do something like that, where you stack them
Mm-hmm.
on top of each other, or yeah, there's just a gajillion options for these. It's like good snag, Carrie. All right, now these ones still need some more work, Randy. But this is where they're at right now. And let me see. I'm probably gonna have to do this one on the ceiling. Check that out.
Nice.
Yeah, so these are, I think these are going to need some more dry brushing and maybe even some more washing. But pretty cool. And then the other one, which can be stacked on top of it.
I was reading, I think it was last year sometime, I was reading a fan fiction that was really cool, and it went into a lot of detail about like specifics about castle design in a way and stuff. And it was talking about how quickly a castle could deteriorate if it wasn't for the constant upkeep, like filling in all the cracks and everything. And
oh wow. So yeah, check this piece out, Randy.
nice. That's a piece with the like runes and stuff on it.
Yeah, so if you look at the
Glyphs. Cool. Nice.
I'm gonna try to get an M50 shot of it here. Oof, let me move back here. And if I go M50, Randy here, you can get to see some of that. So with these is that Crayola foam, magic foam, and we'd use the texture rollers, and we'd use the brick texture on top of those. Let me see. Yeah, there you go. Look at that tasty detail.
Very nice.
And then the other one, we used the texture rollers, but it had these fancy glyphs. The one side I did more distressed, but then it cracked when it. So,
Looks cool.
yeah, like we're using it. We'll use it all. So yeah, this is all looking a little homogeneous, right? And there's not enough contrasty areas. So these pieces need some work. So they're targeted to be worked on. And so I think that's castle review. Although, let's show over here. All right, Randy. You might be on screen, Randy, so say you know.
What?
But if I do this. Alrighty, let me see here if we do that. All you see is the Guy Fawkes mask. And, this is not what we want. Alright, hold on one second. I'll try to do it with the M50. And Randy, can you minimize? Yeah, that's what I needed. Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Oops.
All right. Switch the M50, which will probably freeze on us. But yeah, so Randy, the heap that I have right now, just wanted to show you the sum total because it's a lot. All right, right? Let me know when you're comprehending.
What are you showing me?
I just want to show you kind of the sum total of all these pieces.
Oh, I gotcha.
All right, so we've got two of these pieces. We've got one. We've got pieces like this, and I think there's at least two of those. We've got four of these corner pieces, right?
Nice.
Four of those. 1, 2, 3, fourth one somewhere is here. That's the fourth one here. That there's these pieces here that we showed you, right? So I got 1, 2 of those, 2 like those. We've got 2 of these sections here that are like the walls. This is the second one of this that we said that we had. This is the second one of the wall pieces. And then we had the 2 oddball pieces here. And then the 2 big pieces. So it's a tub of stuff.
It is really cool. Some of those, especially that piece, another piece similar to it with the trench in it. So,
these ones.
That they can do so many things. They can be so many things just depending on how you set it up and how you what you put around it, how you decorate it.
Yeah, that's one thing I've been finding as I've been doing a lot of D&D is how much of my stuff, it all will go together, right? And and especially like you're saying, if you provide context, you know, everything else can do what it needs to do. All right, so we got that. We've got our beholders, Randy. I think, well, the first thing that we have is behold. So let's open up one of these beholders and take a looky-loo, right? We'll probably have to goop it together. I might need your assistance on this.
Okay.
Oh, what we don't need is my gigantic gourd in the in the frame. Apologize for the great ginger beast that may have taken over.
Hey, work naked day's over.
Work naked day's over, Sonny.
I did celebrate that all weekend though.
Well, good for you. I appreciate that spirit, Randy. It's nice when you get into the holidays. There we go. All right.
Oh yeah, and so we celebrated our Bagel and Lox Day today.
Yes, we did.
So Sunday was Bagel and Lox Day. We celebrated that today.
Randy brought me an everything bagel with cream cheese. I thought it was scrumdiddlyicious. However, for those scoring at home, Randy felt that I consumed it rather quickly.
You just eat fast.
And
you ate the whole thing before I'd even finished half of mine.
That's true. Man, it was good. It was good. Now, Randy, I think they may actually provide like I'm hoping it's a plastic cover for the eyeball, like a lens.
Huh.
I'm hoping that's part of what's in this plastic.
JC said, "Imagination's the limit."
Yes.
When we're talking about the different pieces and stuff.
Yeah, it is weirdly weird that like pieces that you just use over and over, and they don't look like, oh, you're using the same piece over and over. Okay, I don't know what the heck that they've given us here, Randy. I'm certainly going to lose pieces out of it, though.
Quite a few things in there, it looks like.
Yeah. Oh, looks like you can replace some of these with eyeballs that have beams and shit.
Oh.
Coming at
crazy.
ya. Homeboy, I'm gonna get ya. Oh, look at that.
JC said Valentine's Day is coming. White Castle offers a special dine-in offer. Reservations only.
Nice.
That's some classy loving right there.
Oh, he's in for some loving. Sliding some loving. Oh, please, please. Yes, yes. And it does. It does have the little lens. Eyeball lens. We're good. There you go.
That's cool. I thought you meant they had a monocle for it.
Well, he doesn't, but he will. Gosh darn it. Yeah, why doesn't... Okay, we're going to make a monocled beholder. I'm sure they exist, but... Yeah, check it out.
Nice.
So that, and then...
Now, is that supposed to be acting like a visor situation?
These are replaceable.
Oh, cool. Is it supposed to be acting like a visor situation, or is it supposed to just give depth to the eye? And
they're blue blockers. Yeah, they help.
Ray-Bans?
Well, when you're a big giant eyeball beast, UV protection is really pretty important, man. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I don't know. He's like, oh man, I got the glaucoma.
I just had some LASIK. Gotta wear my protective lenses.
I'd LASIK go bad. All right, so some of these come out. Maybe. Well, this one is freely removable. So,
what company is that from?
Here. This is WizKid.
Very nice.
Yeah, this is their
Well done, WizKid.
Nolzur's Marvelous Miniature line. So that they had all they do this for a long time. They were doing this thing where it was these blind boxes, right? And so and they still do that, right? You buy this stuff, but you just don't know exactly what you're going to get, and you get some random minis. But then they started doing some pre-painted minis, and then they started doing these unpainted minis, and they've been, I think, really successful. Because, like, if you were trying to get this out of a beholder out of a blind box because they were random, I mean, on the secondhand market, they end up going for like $50-$60 or something ridiculous, right?
Wow.
And the paint job isn't going to be, I mean, I'd probably charge $50-$60 too, but I'm not going to, it's going to be painted to a level that's going to be hopefully slightly better than what you would get. Well, okay, so apparently, take a look here at our label. To see which ones these are supposed to replace. Because it looks like 4 of them.
Looks like I'm looking at holidays coming up, and Friday's apparently Library Lovers Day.
Is this for people who love the library or who do love at the library?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Is for people who are lovers and have love in the library, or is it for people who love the library too much?
If love the library is wrong, I don't ever want to be right. If loving at the library is wrong, all right. I did prefer some eye plucking, Randy.
You what now?
I did do some eye plucking over here on our guy. All right, so I did find out that we could remove some of his stalks, his eye stalks. The motto for the local library was everybody loves the library. And I always said, yeah, everybody loves the library, except for people that work there.
Did they not like the library? Did they not like the people they had to deal with at the library?
You ask tough questions, Randy. It's actually, I really enjoyed the library, and I enjoyed the people of the library tremendously. It gets very corporate, which is kind of, and it's funny because like there is a certain demographic, like people who work at the library, they fit within a very specific demographic, or not specific, but a range of demographics. They tend to be more liberal, and they tend to be, college educated, and so on and so forth.
Somewhat intelligent.
But yet, you get that combined with this corporate, like that's the people that work at the desks, but then you have a very corporate structure, especially with the Columbus Library, because it's all the branches. So it's like 50 branches, and it's a huge mega library. And they got ranked as like one of the top libraries several years in a row, and then yet it's pressure to continue to be that thing, and so on and so forth. And then everybody loves the library except for the people that work there. And they had weird practices too, like you had to do things like, I was telling you this the other day, like you'd have to work at a different location like 1 in 5 Sundays.
That alone would make it weird.
Yeah, it was just like, oh, I okay.
Potentially.
Yeah, and then it was just like you had to work you had to work 2 nights every week, and it was good for a college job, but it got to be weird. Okay, so I think this might be too much, Randy. I'll let you help us see what you think.
Looking like Medusa.
I think maybe 1, not all. Would you agree? Because right now he's attacking you with 4 eyeballs.
Yeah.
No more than 2.
I mean, do you want to make it so that you can just like while he's doing a certain attack?
Oh, is that how you think it's supposed to be?
Well, I imagine it's whatever you want it to be, but
well, I didn't think of it that way, Randy, but it's a fair point. So you paint these, and then you can swap them out.
Because typically he only attacks with 1 eyeball at a time, doesn't he? Typically?
That's what I always thought. Yeah. Like you roll to see which one of these, and like one of these is like instant death. I played it. It was the only time I think I played where somebody. Well, one of the few times I played where a character actually died. And it was because he got hit with the disintegration beam from the beholder, which, you can take his ashes and go to a cleric, and what they'll do is they'll press him into a nice little memorial for you. But so maybe that's what I think. I think that's a good idea.
So you're gonna put LEDs in there, right? So.
Randy, I love how every time I try to show you something, it's like, isn't this cool?
You're gonna put lasers.
No,
and
what would be cool
there, right?
is if it did this. What you have presented is merely, Oh, it looks like maybe
I'm not
these are
happy
numbered?
unless it involves lasers and LEDs, lasers, and liquid nitrogen.
All I wanted was for a beholder with freaking laser beams. Is that so much to ask for? Apparently, my psychoptic colleague, that would be the beholder, he'd be the cycloptic colleague. All right, so 2 goes into 2. Okay, so it looks like they might be actually numbered here.
So cycloptic would be 1-eyed, right?
Cycloptic.
Yeah. So
bicloptic.
Would it be polycloptic? Would be
Many died. Oh, him.
Yeah.
Because. Yeah. What is he? Polyoptic. Polycloptic.
I'll have to examine the proper root and root
Hi,
there.
I'm
Proper
Stuart.
suffix and prefix.
I'm polyoptic. I'm here for my eye exam. Hope you brought a lunch because it's going to take a while. You keep saying better 1 or 2. They look exactly the same to me. It doesn't matter. You can keep flipping it. It still looks the same.
What if you had a different prescription for each eye? Poor guy.
Yeah. But yeah, man, I think we're going to have to make us a monocled. Although I could say, I think maybe... I'm wondering Xanthar. Look up Xanthar. Xanthar.
Yeah, Xanthar.
Just like it sounds. All right. So...
As in the gum?
No. Although... Probably.
As in the... Oh. What?
As in Xanthar's Guide to Everything. I believe that Xanthar was a beholder.
Well, there are some weird things that come up.
There are some weird things on the internet. Who knew that?
All
right, we need to figure out some colors here.
I don't know what this one is supposed to be, but it features a very prominent penis with what seems to be thorns growing out of it. I don't even understand what's happening.
That's what you got for Xanthar?
Yeah.
Okay, well.
And
silver pink.
Here's some violet. Frightening thing that somebody's done with their chin upside down with googly eyeballs on it.
All right, well, let's try this then. Adding googly eyes to anything is like the best way to add hilarity.
And here's some beast with a with a birthday hat on, who doesn't have a head, but whose neck is apparently the shape of a slice of bread.
Okay.
So,
Huh.
what the hell?
Look up Xanthar's Guide to Everything.
This comes up. Can you see this guy?
Okay. No, that's not it. Xanthar's Guide to Everything. Let me see here.
Jaw.
And,
Xanathars.
okay, so Xanathar. Xanadu. Alright.
Well, you got the guide. Oh.
Now on the cover, is there a beholder on the cover?
This one's pretty cool. It's funny because he's reading a book. These ones, these
This
ones
one.
here, they don't. I mean, it's all the same.
Click
These are
on
all
it.
the same.
Yeah, if you click on it, I want to see the cover.
It's got something in front of him, like he's behind a
Yeah.
globe or something.
So that's it. Yeah, but you can see there's a beholder there.
Yeah.
For some reason, I was thinking, I have that. I have to take a look at it. I was wondering if he had a monocle. No, we're definitely making a monocle. Call him. We're going to call him and we're going to call him, Randy, the Loquacious Smoothie Qbreeze. How about that?
That's cool.
All right, so let's work on the Loquacious Smoothie Qbreeze, Randy. I was looking at some of the color shifts here, and I've got this where it's like a pink and silver, and this one's kind of like a silver to pink. So maybe those will work well together. What do you think about that?
They're
Maybe
both
that-
silvery?
Yeah, maybe it's his scales, since he's scaly, and so that has like metallic scales. So it'll be kind of like a purpley. So I think we'll try that. And then his eye stalks, we'll want that to be a contrasting color. Gold, pale blue. This is a gold orange. So for that,
Oh. Okay.
I think we're gonna make his stalks greeny green. That's what I think we're gonna do. So I think we're gonna go with a green. Dark sea green. Okay, yeah. We'll go dark sea green for a base coat, and lighter greens. That. The thing is should we airbrush this to start with? And the answer is yes, we should. But I don't know if I want to do that right now. So I think we're not going to. I think this one we're going to not do airbrush. We're going to do one non-airbrush just to see what it's like. So I think the first thing is when painting a miniature, Randy, I like to work on the deepest areas first. So
That's what
no, that's not what she said.
No.
But thanks. Let me see here. Taking out all the eye stalks.
Got a bit of an echo going on for some reason.
Oh, really?
I assume it's my mic is probably picking you up.
All right. Let me see here. So I got all the pieces here. So that would mean I got to get in his mouth cavity. Now for that, I think we want to do some deep purples. So let's see what we can do for that. Do I really have any good purples? That doesn't make sense.
Did you have anything in particular you wanted to chat about today?
I did. If language makes us crazy was one of them.
What yes, please expound upon that.
So So, okay, as I have here, my premise is that I think we're all crazy people trying to hide our crazy. And I do actually believe that. So that could be one of the things. I think everyone's crazy. I think that language is not the true lexicon of our brain, right? It's not the true language that we speak, the words, the English language, right? We spend our whole lives trying to learn to be fluid in our non-actual like native language, right? Whatever the native language of our brain actually is. Like, what is the true binary language of our brain? And so what happens is that we have our thoughts, but all of our thoughts have to be reconstructed into English language that we then process consciously, right?
Mm-hmm.
Man, that seems like that could have the perfect recipe to just be enough to drive you crazy right there.
It's an interesting concept, but like you pick up pretty easily when you think about it. Whatever language you're raised with.
Mm-hmm.
If you didn't. Interesting.
And then this is the
language
other.
wasn't. If spoken language wasn't introduced to you.
I know that sometimes, like when I'm trying to process my thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
that I notice that there's these level of voices within my head. And I think I can at least detect at least 3 of them. There's the one that's like the raw impulse. There's this one where I'm taking from that until I'm like kind of prepping
The what? The
it.
bro impulse?
Bro. He doesn't get much more raw than that, I suppose. And then there's kind of like, your conscious thought, your thinky thought. And there's like these different levels to it. And I'm sure that there's many more levels to that, but it's just really hard because as you start to examine it, you're examining it with the pieces that you're trying to label, and it gets kind of crazy. But I think you hear what I'm saying, right? It's like when you think things, you're not like when you're doing things and you're just in a moment and you're being in flow state.
Yeah.
You're not thinking, you're just doing.
Yeah.
And I noticed like it's like whenever I'm playing like Rocksmith, right? And I'm just like playing, and versus when I start to think, and when I start to think, it's a much slower and clunkier form, and it takes me, I almost always stumble with what I'm doing when I switch between the two in mid song. And it's just interesting that, what if, it would seem that written language is slow and ineffective and inefficient, that there would be much better ways of transmitting that data, right? And
thought is so much faster. You're right in that, language is very limited. Your brain is capable of perceiving much more than you are capable of transferring to somebody else through the spoken word.
Yeah.
In the same amount of time. Like, that's part of my problem is I get stumbly sometimes or lose track because my brain goes in 100 different directions at the same time. I can't keep up with that.
Right.
Like try to communicate that in some way, or it's just can't do it. Gotta choose one of them.
Yeah. So that's kind of, I just think that, because the thing is that's interesting too is like binary, right? Binary code is dots and dashes, right? Another way to represent it is and nots, right? It is a thing or it is not a thing. It's a 1 or it's a 0.
Right.
Right.
On, off, yes, no.
On, off, yes or no, right?
0.
And it's like, that's a really interesting, is like, when we talk about mind walks, right? And, like the movie, and they talk about atoms, right? So atoms the smallest thing. What happens when you break down atoms? What's smaller than atoms? And it kind of seems similar to that. It's like, is that the smallest unit of measure? Is the is and the nots? Or is there how and I guess because we compress binary, right? So there must be even a way to be better than binary.
Well, it's like your brain is the quantum computer,
right?
But your processing unit is binary.
Yeah. Another way would think about it.
The only way
this
you have to
is
get
another
that
way I
across
guess
is
I'm
binary
thinking about
system.
it. I'm thinking a lot about like Rocksmith and guitar playing, how similar it is to learning to type, and the similarities between those. And
between what now?
Playing an instrument like a guitar
Uh-huh.
and typing, learning to type, getting mastery on a keyboard. there's a lot of similarities that I find between those two things. I'll try to work while I'm doing this. That I need a different tray. That's why I'm stumbling and not being able to do this on autopilot.
Now, by that, do you just mean, because I have not mastered a key, I mean, I can type very well. I have not mastered a musical instrument by any means whatsoever. So by that analogy, are you talking about like just the physical, like getting your hands in the right positions and hitting the right buttons, hitting the right notes or whatever? Or are you talking about like when you get good, you type, I guess it works both ways, doesn't it? You type so fast, you're making words, you're making sentences seemingly effortlessly without thinking about it.
There's
are you making music the same way, making notes and making music the same way?
I always thought that, and this goes back to art and illustration, I think, which is interesting. That the conversation that we were having there, that there is illustration would be like, say, performing a cover song exactly as it was, right? Having the technical proficiency to recreate a song note for note, right? That is an illustration. That's a skillful illustration.
Okay.
Artistry is creating the song. You're right. Those are two different things. And that I always thought that for you not always thought, you get this tendency to start thinking that unless something's hard to do, that it's shite. Right? So if a song is easy to play, does that make it a bad song? Does it make it less artisty? Right? And so we confuse illustrative skills or technical mastery with artistry. And it's really silly because it's like we would never think that just because I type really freaking good on a keyboard that it means I have anything to say. We would never confuse those things. And yet in music, we do it all the time.
It's like if something is like, you can be a technically perfect piano player, but not have a good
soul.
piano player.
Like, not have any soul is what I would say.
You might not get hired.
Yeah.
Because you just are technically good. You don't have any passion that comes across with the music. It's just too technical.
Yeah. I mean, you think too about like pop musicians.
They could replace you with a computer and it could do the same thing.
Pop musicians aren't the best vocalists, right? Pop singers. They're not always. They're not, they don't have to be.
Yeah.
Don't think anybody's saying that Billy Idol was the best proficient singer.
On it's like American Idol and stuff. They'd be like, well, you'd be okay for a cruise boat. Or you'd be good in musical theater.
Right.
It's like, wow.
But yeah, they're different things, and so that's what I think is interesting. Is like learning how to. There's other similarities too, because it's like the proficiency of learning a stringed instrument like a guitar or bass. It is similar because like you think about where you got your home row and typing, and when you start to learn, when you start to learn. First you're just learning letters where the letters are, but then you're starting to learn combinations of letters. Like you'll start to learn where TH is or RST or things like that, consonant clusters, and then you'll start learning small words like and the, and then you'll start to learn small phrases, right? And or you start to learn how to use the number row or things like that. And it's very, 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 very similar into learning a stringed instrument. And most of the learning that you do and learning a keyboard comes very unconsciously. You don't spend the time thinking about it. And when you make that switch to start thinking when you're learning to type, and you don't trust yourself fully, you're like, did I hit that right key or not? You can be typing really good, and once you start switching that part of your brain over, then you start clunking the keys because you took yourself out of you switched from right brain left brainy kind of thinking, or maybe the other way around. I get them confused sometimes. But so there's a lot of similarities there as well. And then also just that I think people are really impressed with people who play stringed instruments. And the more that I'm doing, the less impressed I am with them, quite honestly. Because I think it's the same thing. Like if you never knew anybody who typed on a keyboard and you saw somebody type, you would think that they were doing magic. And you think that person is a genius and that they were one of the smartest people in the entire world. And that they would have had to dedicate their entire life to be able to do that. You have the letters on a keyboard. You have 36 letters on a keyboard that are in a random position. They're not in alphabetic order. You want me to remember these things. They're in some goofy position using all of my fingers and then also throwing in a shift key and punctuation and numbers. It's like, it would have to be a wizard to do that. But, it's like I keep saying from the Beastie Boys song, they say there's only 12 notes that a man can play, but yet, so we're talking about 36 letters that can be shifted and be in a crazy amount of combinations, way more combinations than you could ever put music. But so there's that. But let's, I want to get back to the crazy talk and the language, making you crazy. So here's the thing is, let's say that this is why I brought up the keyboard, is that say that there's a better keyboard, right? There's a better way to type, and there probably is, right? And I think they've even probably done some work on it, right?
There are differently designed keyboards,
right? Coming up with a better keyboard, right? And it's not hard to imagine that there is one. And let's say that I think that the keyboard actually probably is designed well to some degree, but some nooks and crannies here. But let's say that the keyboard was just a horribly designed instrument, or we make a worse keyboard, right? And can you imagine, like, if you were trying to use that and that was the only means that you had to communicate was this horrible keyboard, what would that do to you? What would that do to you mentally? And so if our language is similarly inadequate, what if that also caused consternation? So that's how that would be.
I mean, think of you may be able to have a direct I don't know if the analogy is the right in this sense or not, but so say somebody like Stephen Hawking's, who used to be able to talk fluently, and then had a disease that took that from him, and he had to switch to talking to, like, pointing to words on a screen to get his thoughts across.
Right.
So I guess you just adapt, but I mean, there's bound to be initially there's
some consternation, right? There's got to be a toll, like, and that's
frustration, agitation,
that's a really,
anger, stress, anxiety, depression.
yeah. It's got to be
just not being able to get your thoughts across, to make people understand, Yeah,
you hear about that too, like people that have strokes and stuff like that, right? They can talk well, they're just not able to communicate, and the mental strain that has.
Okay, yeah, that's another one too, where it can happen during stroke, I believe, but any, like, brain injury could potentially cause where a person could just, like, they can still speak, but the words don't match up properly,
right?
So they'll say, like, cat when really they mean something totally different. Like somebody's
Oxford
name.
On the fence post. Yeah. Oxford.
And it just totally doesn't make any sense.
Oxford umbrella on the fence post.
They don't understand that it's not making sense.
Yeah.
To them, they're saying what they're trying to say.
Or like the person that had the head injury and can now no longer recognize his faces. So when he goes to a crowd, he can't pick his wife out.
That's a fairly common one.
That's just who he was sitting next to, and he remembers that she was wearing a red dress, so that must be her.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be so frightening?
I went to.
That just scares me. To think of trying to live in a world like that.
I went to a landscaping
now when you say landscaping, do you mean manscaping?
It doesn't matter. Not this time. Okay. This is actual, like, plants, this one. Where the instructor for that had that problem, that condition where she couldn't recognize faces.
Isn't that crazy?
So she'd meet you and then like turn around and, you know, like 2 minutes later wouldn't know you from your face at all.
Yeah. And it's that
Doesn't
sort of thing
recognize
like
you.
that only exists in like I Love Lucy episodes or something,
Yeah.
you know?
But she'd remember people by the gardens that she designed for them.
Yeah.
So you'd be like, oh, you did this. And she's like, oh, yeah. But she wouldn't remember you.
Yeah. That's
At all.
crazy. That is nuts. What a So that was the premise. And, you know, I'm not being totally serious. It was just I thought a fun little exercise is, you know, what is the emotional strain that we endure because, you know, English really isn't our brain's truly native language. And language is in quotes.
Yeah. I can see, I guess we've dealt with that our whole lives. So we're accustomed to it.
Yeah.
Right?
Right. But that's what mental issues are. It's you dealing with it. It's how you're trying to deal with things, right? So insanity is you trying to deal with things. So just because you've been dealing with it your whole life doesn't mean that you're not, it's not making you crazy. Did I miss the point that you're?
I'm not sure. I don't think so. I think it's just a varied subject, and there's lots of different ways to
Sure,
look
yeah,
at it.
yeah,
But I'm going to
yep.
say this about most everything because I believe that about most everything.
Yeah.
I think in general, people make things too simple and want to say, "Oh, this is what this is," and it's so much more than that.
Yeah.
But that makes it difficult to have a conversation because if you don't
Because
have
nothing
anything
means
to settle,
anything, and everything
Yeah.
can mean everything. And
yeah, it makes it hard to get through life when you have such an open mind.
Possible doesn't mean probable either.
Yeah. So I'm thinking now that, you know, this is just the way it is. This is what our existence is. This is what we're accustomed to. This is how we've learned to deal with it since birth. And that there are still those issues with getting those feelings. So your thought processes may have issues that you're not able to communicate the way that you want. So this brings in problems with the communication, how people can't get across what they want, and then all the emotional and psychological issues that are derived from that. So yeah, I totally see from that standpoint, that kind of goes along with what you're saying, I believe. But just in general, the fact that you cannot communicate as quickly or as efficiently as your brain can think, I think for the most part we've learned to deal with that because it's all we've ever known.
I think that
and then there's certainly instances where you're still overwhelmingly frustrated by you just can't get this thing across or something. You have a different take on it, I take it.
I'm processing what you're saying.
Unpack it.
Yeah, just I'm listening and thinking and enjoying the brain candy, if you will. Yeah, I mean, and so maybe we take it back a step, you know, because I mean, I did jump in with the premise that everybody's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to challenge that premise?
So, what exactly do you mean by it?
I think that this is what I think is that everybody thinks that there's this sort of normalcy of something, right? That normalcy exists, but that normalcy is never actually exists in nature. It's a construct. So there's never anybody who is truly normal. There's no one person that's normal. Normal is an amalgamation of all.
Yeah, it's supposed to be the median of all existence, basically.
Right.
So
Right. So
the median.
everybody, let's say that what we consider normal is people who demonstrate 8 out of 10 normal characteristics and have 2 crazy things, right?
Yeah. It's like the status quo, the majority.
Right.
That's what's quote unquote normal.
So everybody knows that they have these 2 things that are missing, but everybody doesn't. Everybody thinks that everybody else is 10 out of 10. You're the only one that's 8 out of 8, or 8 out of 10. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so I do think that everybody is dealing with this. Everybody's dealing with this stuff, and we're judging ourselves against something that doesn't exist in nature, right? And I think that is I think that insecurity is the big issue, is a big issue that we deal with as humans and the human condition, and I think that's a part of it, a large part of it, potentially.
Yeah, I think it's I don't know. I'm thinking about saying one thing, and then I'm thinking more about a larger picture and like how things are in the animal world in general, and it's making me rethink what I was going to say. Because if you look at other animal groups and stuff, say, I don't know, chimpanzees, I mean, they have, I think, what would be their own idea of normal. What's normal for a group of chimpanzees? So normal would just be, like we've said,
I don't
the
think they have
meaning
an
of
idea
existence. Something, huh?
I don't think they have an idea of normal.
Not necessarily that they understand what that is, but that there is a normal.
That
there is
a
something that
normal-
you can call normal behavior for a group of chimpanzees.
Yep. Okay.
Right?
Right. But no one chimpanzee necessarily would have to demonstrate all aspects of it.
Right.
Right.
It's that amalgam. It's the median of the amalgam.
Yep.
So.
Like that.
Huh?
Yeah. I'm with you. I like that.
Yeah.
Nice turn of phrase.
So, yeah, and I think that they do have definite problems sometimes with some things that would be considered abnormal for them. Like we used to think chimpanzees were, they presented it when we were kids. You first learn like chimpanzees are really cool and they're just chill and whatever and no problems. And they never fight amongst themselves.
They're actors.
Now you know that
they're part of the Actors Guild.
They go off on raids and kill the other tribes and cannibalize them. So there's lots of stuff that you're learning all the time that was kind of in opposition to what you learned. But so if normal is that an amalgam of or the median of the amalgam, I guess, if I'm using that properly, I think I am.
I'm picking up what you're laying down. Good.
Yeah, and then that speaks to us as well. We're also an animal group, and I think it's the same for us.
But I think
I lost why I first got onto that branch there, but going back, my question is, okay, so you say, let me just make it crazy, trying to everyone is crazy. What, by saying that everyone is crazy, what exactly do you mean by that? And reiterate
I
that.
think that we all have crazy within us. It's like here's a way I'll try to here's a metaphor that maybe work. I think everybody has kink, right? Everybody's got their own kink.
Okay,
some
define
sort
kink
of sexual kink, something that they're into, that
something that would be something that would be considered abnormal or outside of the norm that turns them
to some
on?
degree.
Is that,
to some degree, yeah.
Just something that
maybe not statistically is abnormal.
Something extremely specific,
but is regarded
specific that can turn them on.
Yeah, I think most sexuality probably isn't vanilla. Maybe it is. But I don't think that's true.
You think that everybody has hidden desires?
Yeah, and they think that they're crazy because of these hidden desires, but everybody has these hidden desires, right? And it's just that you understand what I'm saying, I think. right?
In part, I think so.
So I think that, it's just that I think that we do this thing where it was like, I'm going to try to come up with something. What would be just a really bizarre sexual kink?
Well, I'm not even going to go there.
Let's say.
So, what is it? Sploshing?
Let's do something that's less.
I mean, that's less what
to you. See again, to you, right? So that's a good example. So
let's
take
when you
splashing.
said truly bizarre, the first thing that came to mind was, well, kind of the same thing but worse. So, like...
Oh no, you're right. So let's start with that. So can you help define that for the good people?
Am I recalling correctly? Is that the correct?
That's the food one, right?
Here, do I need to go to the incognito for this one?
Yeah, I think that's messy food. I think it's sex with messy food. It's messy food.
It's
sex.
like a food fight, but a sexual food fight.
Oh, I thought it was sexual though.
Oh yeah, it's sexual.
Oh yeah, it was sexual. Oh yeah,
it's like it's a fetish. Like people derive sexual joy from a food fight. Basically, this is what's happening there. So it's like oil wrestling, but with food, and yeah, I don't know. Weird. I mean, nothing against you if that's your thing, as long as you're not hurting anybody.
Exactly. See,
I just don't understand it personally.
Right. Exactly.
And that's okay.
But whoever that is probably doesn't understand. If you were, not saying you do, but let's pretend that you did have a kink, and they would be like, weirdo.
Yeah, I don't think I've thought about this a lot because people talk in past have talked about kinks and fetishes and stuff a lot, and I've been like, oh, because I was like trying to understand it because a lot of it I didn't understand because I don't think I have them.
Oh, I think okay. So here's what. Sorry,
I think there's different levels of it too.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, there definitely is. And I mean, some things like there's like partialism is being obsessed with a body part, right? Whereas fetish is when you are attracted to it has to do with a non-sexual, something that sexually arouses you that I think that is non-sexual. So a fetish would be like if I got turned on by cars. There's no reason in biology that I would be turned on by cars. It doesn't really make a lot of sense, right? But being obsessed with boobs, that's not a fetish, so to say. Technically speaking, by what a fetish is. Now you could say you could call it a kink or a turn on or whatever.
Which that is weird because, well, okay. So I mean, it's a biological and it's related to childbirth, but
right. So that's, I guess, there's one thing is that you could say,
but it's not. Boobs aren't, they're not involved in sex as like
okay. Well,
a necessary element.
Let's say that I was describing a body part that was more.
But they are
directly
something
involved.
that most people who are attracted to that gender are attracted to.
Yes.
I find that interesting. But
yeah, but
did I throw you off the topic? Sorry.
No, I'm. So yeah, the whole thing about I think my premise here is that I think that most people have some sort of kink, and by that I would try to use kind of more like the term like a fetish, where that there's something that turns you on for a reason other than normal sexual biology. And to other people, it probably has something to do with a very specific set of circumstances that happened to you in your life that happened also while something, was causing sexual stimulation or something like that, you know what I mean? And then now you've tied these things together, but to you, it now has a tie, but to everybody else, that's crazy. But that was your mind trying to do its best with the information that it had at the time, right? And so I think that's kind of this. We all have. We have blind spots. We all have blind spots to ourselves. Do you agree about that? There are things I'm absolutely wrong about that I totally believe that I'm absolutely wrong about, and it's just going to be damn near impossible for me to change my mind about it because I'm just blind to it. And I think that everybody has that. There's aspects to our personalities. We all have aspects of things and that's why humility, I think, is important.
See, I'm open to the possibility that that's the case for me, but I'm so introspective, and part of my personality is
you think you know everything about you?
No, but that's the thing. I don't think I do. So, but in knowing that, like, you know, I'm open to the possibility that I don't. And by being open to the possibility that I don't, I kind of do in a way.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I don't feel like because if I knew the thing,
really
then I know the
saying.
thing. But and that's the thing is I think that I think that we have these blind spots, and that we all have these blind spots. And when we see that somebody's acting out of way, and it's like you're clearly acting out of your blind spot, right? And you can see everybody else's blind spots, but you can't see your own. And we don't see everybody else has these blind spots and say, well, everybody else in the world has these blind spots. God damn it, I bet you I do too. It's like, no, everybody else in the world is a nut job except for me. I'm the only sane one.
Can you think of a specific example? I can. Here's one that may. If I'm okay,
yeah.
So constantly complaining that somebody is doing something, like complaining about somebody complaining about something. Oh, this person is always just complaining about this thing, but you are also always complaining, about everything, especially about that person complaining about everything. So
I wanna hop on the internet,
and you don't see that.
I wanna hop on the internet and tell people,
I'm not talking about you, JB.
Stop using the internet for this thing, right? And but to do that, I would have to use the internet in the way that I'm going to criticize people for using the internet, right? Stop telling me how to live through the internet. Oh, wait a minute. To do that, I would do the thing that I would be, yeah. Yeah. Okay. So your example again is
if somebody was complaining about somebody, constantly complaining about something, and they didn't realize that they are also always complaining about stuff, then that would be a blind spot, right? Is that where you're going with that?
Well, I'll try to be personal but vague, right? Because I excel in that area. I notice as I get older that I have behaviors that are similar to my father. And there are behaviors that he demonstrates that he does and that I also do, but that I didn't necessarily realize that I do.
Now, are these specifically
doesn't matter
characteristics that you are or are not okay with?
Doesn't matter.
That you would prefer to have or not prefer to have?
I don't think it matters. I mean, yeah, I don't think it matters, but not necessarily attributes that I would be, sometimes if I see my dad behave in a way that I like, maybe quick to anger or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And, I love my dad. I'm not trying to throw my dad under the bus, but
yeah,
everybody's human, right?
Yeah. We're just talking about human behavior.
And, you see that it's like, there's traits that I have that I picked up from my dad that I didn't realize that I had, and things that I think that my dad does that I don't think that I do, but that's not true necessarily,
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of like that. And again, not trying to bash on my dad by any stretch of the imagination.
No. What a dick.
Yeah.
That's good.
My dad's almost 80 and he's still going to beat your ass. But yeah, so I think that's what I'm talking about. I think that along those lines that I think that we all have these blind spots, and these blind spots, we're very often very blind, I think, about a lot of I think we all have some blind crazy. And the more people that I look at, if you scrutinize anybody for long enough, it seems to me like you'll see some crazy. I got crazy. I know it. I know it, but I don't own it necessarily, and I'm not necessarily aware of it, but I do know it exists. And knowing that it exists is the reason that I think is so important to be introspective, but you have to do it with balance. You have to be able to live with confidence.
Yeah, see, that's where boldness. That's what I was starting to say about my personality.
Right.
Is that because I had low or no self-esteem and poor self-image and everything, and I was always analyzing, comparing myself to everybody else and analyzing myself, like, what am I doing wrong?
I don't want to know about your masturbatory techniques.
We're not talking about your concepts of Western grip or anything, JB. So.
Oh, you said analyzing. I was. You were analyzing yourself. I mean, I don't know if you have a Sibian machine or whether it's one of those things that you stick on a mirror.
Analyze. Tomato, tomato. Uranus, Uranus. Whatever.
I know that you're not a big TV like Arrested Development guy, but one of the guys he was an analyst and a therapist, and so he combined it to be an analoripist. And it was
so because it sounds like anal.
So it sounds like it's written as if anal rapist. And it's like no.
Brilliant.
Yeah. But anyways, I digress. Sorry. So you were saying due to some of your issues.
Yeah, that I am more, say self-absorbed,
You are an inward-looking person
than most people.
You don't have to call yourself that. I have no problem calling you an inward-looking person. If that's what you're trying to say.
You have a problem calling
I do not having a problem. If you're having a problem calling yourself an inward-looking person, I can do it for you, is what I was trying to say.
I definitely am. And to a point where it's like, it makes it difficult because if you're constantly analyzing everything you're doing and wondering if it's the right thing or wondering, who you're offending or anything, then it makes it difficult to do anything with confidence.
To do anything.
So that goes back to like your concept of maintaining a healthy balance within that.
Yeah.
Of being cognizant, of being self-aware, but not overly so.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think that the more I examine it, I think that, for me, the trick is kind of like, feel like a lot of times floundering between, thinking words here.
Are you going crazy?
Yeah, it's something like my crazy manifesting itself. And I'm denying it. I'm in denial. Is that... Sorry, I got...
That's with going crazy and stuff. It's with being not being able to get your thoughts out and stuff, and going crazy because you're trying to use a language that is learned and perhaps out of sync with our natural brain's own language, as you were trying to say at the beginning. I keep forgetting what. I've forgotten what I was doing.
Awesome.
Damn it.
Yes. All right. Well, good. And I'm jumping back in. Tag me. I'm gonna come in off the ropes.
Tag team.
Okay. So.
Oh God. Wait. What was I thinking?
Now I think you made me forget. I'm laughing so hard I forgot what I was going to come back with.
Oh, God.
That is awesome. Well, okay, so here's what I would come back with.
Yep.
Why would any of us be not crazy?
Mm-hmm.
That's the question. Not why do I think everybody's crazy? Why would anybody not be crazy?
There are lots of reasons to be crazy.
And, and I'm meaning crazy in the best way possible, right? I mean, why would not all of us have some...
I guess you have to define crazy too. I guess like
would have beliefs
that
are not based in reality.
You have beliefs that are not based in reality.
Let's just say that just for the premise of this conversation right now, let's stick with that. That I think that everybody, when I'm saying crazy, I mean like you're crazy about that. That's what you think it is. You're crazy. That type of crazy, right? Like we all have some beliefs that are just.
And so,
wrong.
This is not necessarily religious or spiritual. This would just be as mundane as some physical thing that you think is
It can be as mundane as that I think that all the switches on the left-hand side do one thing, but all the switches on the right-hand side do something else.
And you're just absolutely sure that is the way it is.
I know that's the way it is. I know that's how it is.
Till you find out that one of them's different.
Right. And that's another thing I heard somebody talk about, like kind of talking about some existential spiritual stuff. It's like, you feel right now, this is what people commonly feel. Past you was stupid. Current you is the right version. Old version, that was dumb. You had learning to do, you had to grow, but now you figured it out. And even if you do have some humility about what you need to learn, it's not measured against what you didn't know before and that you know now. You're viewing yourself now as a person who has come and realized and has achieved and are at a spot. But actually, you're still like you were back then. You're not. You're still stupid. There's still things for you to learn. You're still wrong. There's still areas to grow, right? But you don't view yourself as that. Right now, you view yourself as, well, now this is the best version of me. This is the correct version of me. And I understand that there's also crippling guilt and self-loathing, you know, that can go part and parcel. Those don't have to be mutually exclusive, right? I mean, they can be, you can experience both of those things.
Yeah, so I would never view myself, I view myself as, you know, improved on certain things, but I certainly think there are things that I have not improved on that I would like to, and I'm sure there are things that I haven't thought about.
Yeah, and you know, everybody's experience differs.
Yeah, I think the majority of people don't think about anything about what they do, and
you could have stopped at anything.
What?
You could have stopped at anything.
Don't think.
I don't think people think about anything.
The majority of people don't think. Yeah, by what you see in the news and stuff, which is why I don't watch news, because it's freaking depressing.
Right, and it's not a very...
Most people, by living in my neighborhood,
yeah,
by having ears and having to listen to what goes on outside my windows 24/7,
yeah,
the majority of people don't give a shit, and they don't think. Period. Well, that's fine. We can stop there because it applies so well to so many things, but specifically about others or about having any respect for anybody else. And I question whether they have any respect for themselves as well, but I think that they probably view themselves quite highly in a lot of cases. If you ask them, I don't know if that's how they view on the inside truly, but that's what they would want you to believe. So hopefully most people who are trying to be a reasonable, humane being and do some bit of good in the world and have others' interests at heart as well, would take time to consider their thoughts and actions and behaviors and try to improve on them.
Do you think that...
But I think most people are assholes.
Do you think most people are assholes?
I like to say no, but I'm an optimist, so I like to say no. But
sometimes,
yeah, sometimes it is hard to maintain that.
And this is where it always feels personal. It feels personal every single time. And I know it's not personal every single time. And so that's what I keep trying to tell myself, is it feels a certain way, but that's not the truth of the situation, right?
Yeah.
And I think that most people are just oblivious rather than evil. And that's my question is, do you think people are evil or oblivious or something else, or just assholes or just uncaring? Or I
mean, again, here I go. But well, so evil is a concept, and there's levels of it.
Yeah,
but,
and I'm using it as a
yeah. So just like you're a bad person, meaning like you're a dick and you're out for yourself and you don't give a shit about anybody else. And if you can hurt somebody else and get joy from that, then that's cool. Then that's evil. Then yes, I believe that there are.
I define evil as willfully hurting somebody else for your gain. That's how I define evil.
Okay.
Willfully hurting
Yes, I believe that there are people out there that do that. But now, whether those people have a psychological condition or not, I don't know. I know, narcissists and sociopaths and psychopaths certainly probably have those tendencies and do show up on that spectrum, I guess. But other people, I don't understand how people can behave the way they do in many instances. And I've examined this for myself, say, like, do I behave like that? And okay, there's elements where like I may get angry and behave a certain way, spur of the moment, short fuse, whatever. But I recognize that and I try to figure that out and adapt it. It's like other people don't even bother to do that, and they don't seem to have a problem with just flying off the handle, and I do not understand that behavior.
Yeah.
And like, well, okay, I guess it's largely just how you're raised, the environment you're raised in.
Or how you're reared.
Well, I mean, what's your difference between one?
That was a butt joke, Randy.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Sorry, I was just trying to provide a little comic relief there. I'm not trying to
I got
trivialize what you're saying, just adding a moment of frivolity there as we talk about some
So
serious
depending
stuff.
on how much junk you got in the trunk,
Yes.
no, that doesn't apply.
How you were raised.
How you're unpacking what you're saying, I don't know.
Something that has to do with how
Yeah,
you were
I think it's largely based on how you were raised or lack thereof, what environment you were in when you were brought up.
Well, this is part of it too,
Your
right?
behaviors,
Like, why
but-
would we not be crazy, right? Because
I still even considering that though.
How are we taught? Like, these things that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Like, nobody's talked to me about these things. Hardly.
Yeah.
At all. Like, this is not valued. This was not like, how to not be crazy is not what they teach you in school. They teach you a lot of math. They teach you a lot of stuff. They don't teach you a lot of other things. But, how to not be crazy is not what they teach you.
That is a big.
And it's just assumed.
I always thought that they should teach that in school, is like how to deal with stuff, like how to deal with stuff rationally, how to consider your actions, and and I guess they try to teach that through like parables and fables and stuff as a child. They teach you the basic right and wrong and stuff, but they need to do more as you're developing, especially when you're going through puberty and you got crazy hormones going on. I don't know, maybe you wouldn't listen, but instead of just concentrating on reading, writing, arithmetic, they should do some.
It's like, what's the goal, right? What's the end goal?
Some self-development there.
Why are we going to school? Why do kids have to go to school till they're 18? What is the purpose of that?
To join the workforce and become
productive members of society.
Yeah. Ants in the wheel. Is that hamsters on the wheel? Cogs in the mechanism.
I mean, it seems that and I don't think this is intentional. I was telling this to John when we were talking, that it does seem that, or maybe it was you actually we were talking about, right? Because it seems that what it's best suited to do is to teach you to sit in a room with about 30 people and do what one person tells you to do.
Yeah.
That seems what it does. It does a really good job of teaching you to do.
Yeah.
Is to realize that for every 30 of you, there's one person that should be in charge. And
yeah. And they have some schools now, and they're starting to realize
Sure.
that kind of stuff about individuality and expressing yourself and not
alternate
making
ways
everybody
of
try to
education
conform to this stricture of this is how you should behaving. This is what you should be doing. More celebrating creativity and things of that nature.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was something that was definitely kind of looked down upon growing up in school. You sit there, you shut up, you do exactly as I tell you.
Yeah.
I don't want to see any variance. Because I would have tests. This happened a lot. Like, I would have tests and they'd be like multiple choice or whatever, or word problems, and I'd be like, I'd have to write in, like, correct the grammar to be able to make it make sense. Because I'd offer like, okay, well, it sounds like you're asking for this, but I think you mean this. So here's the answer to both of those. And I got F's on a couple things because the teacher got pissed that I was correcting them.
Yeah. That doesn't surprise
Even though
me.
I was right. Now, what the teacher should do is praise you for that. And encourage you. Like, because I wasn't doing anything rude. She just perceived it as rude because I was... What? She was embarrassed because she made a mistake, really, probably. And punished me for it instead of rewarding me for my due diligence. And I don't even know. So, and there were multiple instances like that. So hopefully, our education system is improving a bit.
Or it's not.
I'm afraid that it's not.
No, because our
goals
haven't changed. So why would anything else change?
There are options. My niece went to a school which was very much like a creative arts type of school situation where they were very encouraged to have, be more outspoken and individualized and have a voice that was encouraged. So there are options out there, at least. So that's good.
Yeah, and I do think that it's opening more than closing, I guess. Hold on a second.
It is 1:40, by the way.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
There's a song by Pink Floyd, Another Brick on the Wall, right?
Yeah.
And it says, when we grew up and went to school, there were certain teachers who would hurt the children any way they could by pouring their derision upon anything we did, exposing every weakness, however carefully hidden by the kids. And
there are.
It's like, like I did not have a wonderful educational experience.
Yeah.
But compared to them, hell yeah, I did.
Yeah. Who was that?
That's Pink Floyd.
Old
English, British, post-World War II, children going post-World War II.
Yeah. It's like, there are teachers like that. I was like, why did you become a teacher? Because it certainly seems as though it was specifically to torture children.
I had
to belittle them, to be powerful, to feel more powerful because you have this power over some little creature, and you can, like, there were so many times that stuff happened and that shouldn't have happened. Just belittling stuff where it was just taken for granted that, hey, they're the adult, they're the teacher, you must be doing this wrong. And it was like, I'm not doing anything wrong. It was ridiculous. There was no calls for that. I mean, there was teacher, was it like second grade?
I've lost a bottle here somewhere.
It was second grade, and going back, yeah, I wish you kind of could go back knowing what you know now, so that you could say something, that you could stand up for the kid.
Oh, for you, or for somebody
it was
else?
Something that happened to somebody else in the class. It was a girl.
Yeah.
Not that really matters, but it does. In this case, it seems like it makes it more. I mean, it's equally bad, but it seems like it's even more poignant in this case because I don't know, it just does.
Okay.
So it was during a test, or we're getting ready to start a test actually, and she had to use the restroom, and the teacher wouldn't let her. She's like, "Just wait till we're done with the test."
Yeah.
And she was begging.
Are you talking about Susie Pee Pee Pants?
Yeah. And she was begging, and she just told her to shut up. And she started crying. She ended up making her move her desk to the front of the room, up against the blackboard in front of everybody. And she's crying, begging, and she ended up peeing herself in front of everybody. And it was, visual, you could tell. It was obvious and evident and in every way.
And Randy, now you know why I have a pee fetish.
And then the teacher yelled at her. Like, what do you think you're doing? Why are you doing that? Why didn't you say something? It's like, are you serious? And grabbed her and yanked her and pulled her out of the room. It's unacceptable behavior. Totally unacceptable behavior. How anybody like that can get in a teaching position, I'll never know.
Yeah. Well, one thing is, now all those kids have cell phones, and they would photograph her doing that. And...
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's been, but
I don't know if that happens I haven't seen any YouTube videos of kids that age taping stuff, or recording stuff like that, but you would think. I guess they don't allow them to have phones, perhaps.
No, I'm just saying, I think that things are more visible than they used to be, but
yeah,
I mean,
with social media, you would think.
Yeah, there's been such travesty that's been occurring for so long by people of authority, right? People of authority abuse it always. We know that, but it is funny. It's like,
the number of times that you've had a teacher demean you as opposed to raise you up is startling. And it's like, did they have they always been like this, or did they get into it with good intentions and they just became broken or jaded at some point? Like,
I had a teacher. He said that this is a teacher that told me this.
Yeah.
He said, well, I had one teacher told me. He says most teachers are failed engineers. He says you want to be an engineer, you realize you can't do the math, so you look to see what credits you have, and you realize that you could become a teacher. I appreciate that, man, because I thought that he was being extremely honest with me.
Yeah.
As a student. Another one, he said, you know what the 3 best reasons for being a teacher are? He said, June, July, and August.
Yeah.
So.
No offense to any teachers out there who actually do give a shit.
And those were good teachers that told me both of those things.
Yeah.
But
well, I mean, there is a lot of debate about like their pay.
Yeah.
You know, how they're treated, what they have to deal with,
yeah,
what they're given.
Yeah, we underappreciate our teachers.
Yeah. A lot of teachers, it's if they want to do anything for the kids, it's totally dependent upon them and their own pocketbook to be able to do that, because they're not getting any funding to make that happen for their kids in their classrooms.
I had
and they have those stresses, and then today especially, they have kids that are just acting crazy because they're not brought up properly, and but there's still just teachers out there that are just assholes.
Oh yeah.
It
It's
runs.
the same
It
thing
runs
with
both
like
ways.
cops, right? I mean, there's some cops that just want to be in a position of authority and be able to do some stuff.
That a lot of cops, I think you find that a lot of cops are people that served in the military and then got out,
and
for whatever reason,
that kind of is accommodating.
And they go into the police force afterwards because they can kind of continue that similar sort of feeling. And a lot of them have, they want to be in that superiority feeling of control sort of situation.
Yeah, I mean, I know some cops personally who I think are amazing people, and I think that they're in it for wholeheartedly 100% the right reasons. And, I think that they're doing great work,
and that's another hard place too, because again, they're putting their life on the line, and they're not really being compensated for
not necessarily
for all that they have to deal with, and the fact that their life is on the line.
Yeah, I think that's the thing too, is that we don't want to talk about with some of the police rage that we're seeing videotaped. Is that apparently there's some evidence that there's some bad stuff that's been happening that geez, who would have ever guessed that
it goes both ways though.
Yeah, who would have ever guessed that that people in position of authority, if not behind closed doors, would abuse that authority? What? Huh? That's hard to imagine. However, you also you keep putting cops into situations where their life could be in danger, and you don't want them to have any means of, control, right? That's asking a bit too much. And I think that we have put our cops in positions that have bred some of the negative behaviors demonstrated. You know what I mean?
I think there needs to be more testing about who's allowed in like psychological, emotional, behavioral testing and stuff to try to make sure, and it should be something that is
it's constantly evaluated. It's not
there should be like a yearly evaluation. I don't know how. I assume there is something along those lines, but a lot of the shows you see about it stuff, they're always trying to like put that off, and it's just like, okay, yep, I'm good, and that's
everything that we know
about
cops, and we know a lot is through TV.
I mean, my dad was a police officer, so
that's why you don't like him.
My dad or police officer?
Sorry, it was just a joke.
No,
that was a joke.
So I'm not totally talking just off the wall here.
Yeah. You have a little bit of frame of reference, is what you're saying.
But most of what I know, most of what I'm talking about is
most of what I know about cops, I know a lot. I think I know a lot. Is
from TV or movies.
From TV and movies,
but it's also backed up with what you've seen in the media lately about what's really going on behind the scenes in a lot of cases, and also personal experiences, especially with motorcycle cops. I've had.
You are not going to speak ill of Ponch and John, are you?
I've had particularly assholey motorcycle cops before pull me over.
That's funny. Well,
And it was like
traffic
there
cops.
was nothing. I don't even know. It was ridiculous, and he was his attitude was so not in line with what it should have been.
Yeah.
It was so crazy. There was definitely some psychological going on there, and it was disturbing.
Right, and that's tough too, right? Like how do you have a good attitude and give people tickets all day?
Yeah.
How does one do that? I'm not sure that I have the skill set to be able to accomplish that.
Yeah.
But still doesn't excuse bad behavior.
And you gotta people have a hard enough time being like at a call center, dealing with people complaining on the line to them all the day or yelling at them on the line, and that's like nothing compared to like a police officer having to deal with
They're
that
not having a
person
gun.
and
What
having
happened
to
if
worry
those
about
people had
weapons.
guns?
Yeah.
What if call center people had guns, right? That's
Yeah.
funny. But yeah, I'm standing by. I think everybody's crazy and that we're all blind to it. And I'm trying to be mindful that I am crazy as well, right? And so I'm trying to use this to some degree, Randy, as a means to try to be less hateful to people.
That we're all just crazy.
Less hateful to my common man.
And that's what I've talked about that before too. It's like, I take a different.
Yeah, no, I think it's very similar, if not almost identical. But what you're saying, maybe a different wording of it and a different phrasing of it. But that's what I'm saying is, along with those conversations that we've been having, I've been examining this mentally as along those lines. It's part of that conversation that we've been having. Did I step on you?
A little. I don't remember what I was going to say, but that's all right.
Sorry.
I was just thinking.
All right.
How
Computer, what time is it?
It's 9 till.
No. Right.
Anyway.
I want to finish at least painting our guy. I was only going to paint him...
Sunshines and rainbows, everybody.
Real
talk.
Well, but... I mean, so yeah, to try to finish this on a more positive note, because we did kind of go a little angry and dark there.
Hopefully, people, if they listen to this, hopefully they listen to the whole thing and get the intent.
Yeah.
Because I can imagine somebody hearing one thing, and this is exactly the kind of thing we're talking about too, in part, hearing one thing, assuming, like say we said something about cops, assuming that means that we're talking negatively about cops and hating God, and that's not our intent.
Yeah.
Like I said, it goes both ways.
I love my dad. I'm gonna try to talk bad about my dad.
So, and then just tune us off and be like, "Oh, those assholes hate cops." Like that's not what we're saying at all.
Yeah.
So, hopefully everybody listens and gets the whole message there.
No,
hopefully it made sense. And
we're gonna be all right, I think. And if not, then you're not our people. So keep it moving.
Yeah. But that's part of what we're talking about too, is having that, realizing it. Don't jump to conclusions. Hear it out. Hear the whole story. See both sides.
Yeah, because it's like I know that I'm judgmental, and I'm okay with that. As long as I'm frequently willing and actively changing my behaviors and thoughts. You know what I mean? In the face of new data. And
I tend to give people way more credit than a lot of other people do. Like I give a lot of slack. I think. And sometimes I feel like people think that I'm super critical. And I'm critical of myself, but I'm much more critical of myself than I would be of anybody else. And if I am critical of somebody else, I always try to balance that with thinking about like how would it be if I was in their situation, sort of thing. So I hope people realize that that's true about me, and not just think of me as being super critical about it. But I
think maybe the problem is caring that one way or the other. Right? Because you can't. People are going to think wrong things of you, right? and you can't change that. It's like I'm trying to actively spend as little time as possible guessing if people are mad at me. I don't think that's helpful for me.
Especially, I don't do that nearly as much anymore. But it's still there, but it's not like something I'm actively worried about. It's just a thought, like, no, I want to hope that's the case, and let it go. As opposed to like obsessing over it, like I would have done originally and worrying. And that's another thing where like turning 40, fuck all.
Yeah.
Like don't have time.
What I was trying to say though, I still find that a struggle though.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's very much work in progress.
Of what's part of it?
Of maintaining that distance and not caring.
Not caring.
Like I have to keep saying, like, it's not my job to be constantly worried if I hurt somebody's feelings or somebody's mad at me. Because even if they are mad at me, I may have not done something wrong. So they could be mad at me and I didn't do anything wrong.
You, as long as you're trying to be a decent human being.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. I said I'm okay with that as long as I'm purposefully and actively evaluating in the face of new data and changing in the face of new data. And you can't have with one part.
So you're trying to be good, and you're not overly worried about, you're not analyzing whether that's coming across to everyone, that you are being good to everyone all the time.
Live confidently, but with constant and honest introspect.
Yeah, you're doing your best, and you're actively, honestly trying to make a good effort to be a better person and do the right thing. Without constantly worrying about how that's perceived.
Yes. Yeah. Am I right? Am I doing right? Am I being perceived correctly? Am I?
Yeah.
It's a bit much, right?
And it's like either you get it or you don't, dude. I know the truth. I know I'm trying to do the right thing here. I know I'm trying to be a good guy. I know I'm trying to look out for you. If you don't want to acknowledge that fact, if you want to think differently, I'm not going to be able to change that. Apparently, you're just going to do your own thing, and you got to figure that out on your own. Because
that's what I was trying to allude to there, right? It's like we spend so much time. It goes back to that Alan Watts thing, right? About that I'm not what I think I am. I'm not what you think I am. I am what I think you think I am. And to me, it feels that, right? And that's the cycle that I'm trying to learn how to break. And I don't know that I'm effective at it, but that's the cycle that
See, these are the thoughts I had when I was like 10 years old. I'm sitting in my room wondering, like, how do they think? Do I think? Am I my perception of them, or are they like? Yeah, I know that sounds stupid and like, yeah, sure you did, but no, that's really what I thought about. Good memories, good times.
So Randy, on today's show, we had a wonderful little mind walk, I think, and I want to just take a moment just to thank you for taking the time and for and being willing to engage in some honest conversation about these items.
Yeah, of course, bro.
We did what we normally do. We made something really ugly before we make it look really cool. So this was the ugly phase. So I pretty much just gave everything a big purple coat on all this. And that wasn't the route that I was going to go, but it's the route that I ended up using because I think this dark purple will act as a decent undercoat for all the kind of the nooks and the crannies of these.
And what'd you end up doing with that paint? Was that a wash?
No, it was just a combination of a blue and a red. Just some Vallejo game color,
just
blue
straight.
and red. Yeah, and one of these was a blood one, so it kind of gave it a shine. So this will end up having a shine because it's one of those kind of like effect paints. So I didn't necessarily want that, but it's not going to affect it, I don't think, too much.
Cool.
So, but yeah, so that was kind of good with having a deep conversation, doing something like this. They worked well. So, yay on that. And, we got to do a real good review today of our castles. Oh, I did get a comment from our friend J2. And he said Gilgamesh. So nice. I appreciated him making it to the end of it. I don't know, Randy, we should have a call out for today's episode. What would be the call out? If you made it this far, give us a little cattywampus. And you can spell it however you need. If you made it this far, give us a little cattywampus shout out. Yep.
That beholder's eyes be looking all cattywampus.
Yeah, he's like, man, I can't tell. Looking on this side, looking at that eye, you making me all cattywampus. I don't know which way you looking. But yeah, this is gonna be pretty neat, I think, when they're all said and done. So we got that. Let me switch back here. Remind everybody that in the description we have links to 2 pieces of highlighted gear, and I think we'll keep those for the week: the glue gun and the heat gun. And maybe on Thursday, Randy, I'll break out the hot glue gun and actually try to revisit our egg and see if we can use it on that. And then, all the other crucial information's down there in the description, links to the Quasi Shop, links to our Patreon page, links to Instagram, links to recommended gear, all that good stuff. Click the like button, please share, which is where you tell your mother, you tell your brother, you even tell any secret lovers you may or may not have. I know maybe you are one of these good people that we don't believe exists and you don't have any secret lovers, and good on you for that. But I do know you still have kink. Don't we, Randy? Yeah, they can be as good as they want, but they still got some of that kink in there.
Maybe I do have a kink, but it's like a low-grade normal one or something.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, that was one nice thing about the internet, the boom of the internet, as I realized, wow, I am not as much of a sexual freak as I think that I am.
Lord.
Like, wow.
That's true.
It's like, I do feel very vanilla in comparison to the internet. Thank you, internet.
Yes.
All those things that the church was telling me.
I was wild.
Yeah, the church made me feel. I mean, hell, the church was telling me I was going to hell for masturbating. So now maybe I shouldn't have been doing it during Sunday service, but no,
that could have had something to do with it.
I never did that. But yeah, so please like, share, and subscribe. Click the subscribe button. You'll get access to the bell icon. If you click that, it will make a bell that will ring, and that bell would sound something maybe like that, which is not the bell that calls Captain Krusty to come pick us up in the in the pirate ship, the undersea pirate vessel. But we will be ringing that bell as well. And I think, Randy, that's probably a wrap of all the stuff. Next session, like I said, I think we'll be continuing with the Beholder, and we'll be probably doing some dry brushing of our castle stuff, which I'm really pleased with how it's coming. And then we'll look forward to being able to put on some of the wow factor items, right, Randy? The vines and some stuff like that. Maybe even distress it. Maybe find some other places where we want to distress it even further, and go from there.
Cool.
So, do you have anything else that you want to share?
Oh yeah, go ahead and do your closing, and I'll throw something in at the end.
Okay, yeah. So then our normal traditional closing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so we'd like to leave everybody with, this is me, Johnny Q of Studio Johnny Q, a.k.a. the Aloof Goof, here with my friend Randy, and we'd like to leave you guys with our customary closing salutation, which is the doctor's promise: never cowardly, never cruel, never give up, never give in.
Love yourselves and love one another. And thanks for hanging out with us.
Yep. Thanks, everybody.
So something for next time, perhaps.
Yeah.
I did download the Doctor Who VR game.
Oh, yeah.
For PlayStation.
I had actually taken a look at that briefly. And
I picked up a couple other cheap things as well.
On VR?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that's definitely. I'll when I do the show notes, I'll try to flag that next time VR. And I'm still waiting for mine to come in. I did see, Randy, that the Star Trek does feature cross-platform functionality, so we should not have problems being on multiple platforms and being able to play that together. So
nice. And you got the videos that I sent you about the reviews of the upgrades.
I did. The one from Linus Tech Tips.
Mm-hmm.
I did. Yeah, I did. Thank you for sending me that. I did appreciate that. So what they were seeing, it sounds like that all you need basically is a USB-C cable that is a certain type, which
they gave you a couple different options about different setups you could do.
Yeah, there was Anchor, and if you have one of those, and it was funny too. The other thing that they showed, Randy, is these the USB extenders that I'm using. Those were the same ones that they recommended.
Oh, nice.
Because if you need something that's longer than 15 foot.
Yeah.
So they had recommended that same one.
Cool.
But yeah, so it seems like all you need to do is if you're linked using that cable, then you can also then access things from the Steam library as well. so you
Nice.
can play unlinked or played linked with that. So that's pretty groovy.
Yeah, they said there was also a streaming option potentially, but dependent on lots of things. But anyway,
Yeah.
So yeah, I just want to mention that I have that, and hopefully I'll be able to get some time logged on that and check it out.
Yeah, actually, Carrie was asking me about if you were getting much VR time in, and I told her that I knew that you were heavily invested in your Dragon Age, so I wasn't sure how much. So
Yeah, and I got to get a proper space set up for it, so I have enough
oh
room to
yeah,
move around
yeah,
and stuff.
yeah. Yep.
For most of the stuff requires a bit of motion,
Sounds
a
good.
larger area. So
And we didn't really have a mental health minute, Randy.
we
but
the whole thing was pretty much a mental health
exactly
minute,
right.
so.
That's what I felt too. I
Yeah.
do would like to talk about sometime. I was thinking about this because computer games have been making me think about it, or PlayStation, and in particular the Ginger Jedi game I've been playing, that Fallen Order, and I had a boss that I couldn't beat, right? And so it was like, and the game kept telling me, like, you can lower the settings. No, really, it's okay. We won't think less of you if you want to just lower it this time. You can change it. You can change it right back. Nobody will even know. I was like, no, I want to learn, because most of the time you can just button mash your way through things, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, I want to actually learn like the 7 skills that I have as a Jedi, right? Like, when do I push? When do I pull? When do I use the block and stuff? So you're fighting this really hard boss, right? And so I'm fighting him. And I kept getting frustrated. And I was like, why aren't right? And I realized that...
You want to save this for next time?
Yeah, so I think this might be our mental health moment for the next time. So that's something I'd like to discuss, is about
that sounds cool.
The frustrations of that. So yeah, I think that we have a good teaser for next time. I really did have a good time talking with you, Randy. And unless you have anything else, we'll tell everybody. Thanks, and we'll give him a Smoothy Qbreeze. Oh yeah, baby. Oh, Randy, you know what?
Yeah.
There is one more thing.
What's that?
I'm not done. I want to give people make it this long. We gotta give people a reason, right? To make it this long. So I think they might have to get a little something here. Let's see here.
What?
Give them a little. I mean, because it's probably only Deucey right now that's even made it this far. So just
What's
as
up, Deuce?
a little reward. And anybody else?
Oh, you're knocking stuff over.
All right. All right, you can roll us out anytime you want, Randy.
Yeah, that's good. Yep. Yeah, I'll be Yep. I'll be. Yep.
I see
I'll be in the stream any minute now.
I got dumps like a truck. What? What?
Bye.